All right, people. I'm Piper. I'm going to introduce you to the professor here shortly. It's Picking Sides with Piper and the Professor. Never a perfect time to launch a brand new show, but here it is, Thursday, January the 7th. We're going to release this out on our YouTube channel, and more to come there. Our Twitter feed is up and live, but the way all this got started, I grew up in Lexington, Kentucky, home of thoroughbred racing. Gambling was legal. It was common to go to the track and, have an older person bet on a horse for you. After that, card games, betting on football, basketball. It was just a way of life. I remember as a kid, instead of doing my homework on Monday night, I would ask my dad, hey, who we for tonight? And he would tell me, hey, we need the Dallas Cowboys to win tonight. And I knew that meant something. That meant, we're going to have a good week and going out to dinner, or we're going to have to button up the hatches and maybe eat grilled cheese sandwiches that week. Seriously, I'm being serious. So more to come on all that, but it's been an affinity of mine. I've been in and around sports my whole life. Sports gambling has really grown tremendously with the internet, all the growth there. And this next gentleman I'm going to bring up, we'll know him as the Professor. I met him here in Denton, Texas. We both had similar likes with baseball, and I could tell he had an affinity towards the game. And then the more we talked, he had an affinity towards the angle, and that's what we're going to talk about here tonight. So without further ado, I'm going to bring up the Professor. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Man, here we are. We talked, hey, do we want to just wait and table, kind of do some simulations throughout this season and maybe start fresh next college football season? And we're like, nah, let's do it, man. Let's just go ahead and make it happen. Here it is, early in 2021. You've been running some computer simulations now for a good 8-9 weeks. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, a little bit more than that. Yeah. We started tracking data middle part of both football seasons. College football, of course, is over now. Was pleased with the results there. Same with the NFL. Early on had to do some tweaks, but kind of found something that we like. Here towards the end, week 16, the picks that I gave out to my beta testers went 5-0. Week 17, they went 3-0. Obviously, that's a high bar. We're not going to be 100%. We know that, but it shows that there's something here, and we like where this is going. We're always trying to make it better, and we think we found something pretty good here with football.
I've got up on the screen because we know a lot of people might dip their toe in this and say, "Man, who are these two guys? What do they know?" But if you'll text the word WIN, W-I-N, if you're listening to this just on audio stream, to 214-416-9771, you'll be a part of the Picking Sides Insider community, and we'll be able to text you out when we go live. Our plan is to start doing our show live on YouTube to start, and then some other platforms. Or if there's maybe some breaking news we want to share with the audience, so again, just text the word WIN to 214-416-9771. We'd love to see that community grow as we grow our show. Be a lot of fun to connect with fans out there, wherever you are, all over the world.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, Professor, you mentioned earlier there's a small group of beta testers that have been, I think, doing rather well. And then we decided, man, we're having such good success with the picks, and you'd been tweaking the math. That computer you're using is not quite as big as Watson. That IBM computer that is very powerful, but you got a lot of technology and brain power that you put behind this model. And then we decided, hey, man, we're having such good success. Let's just go ahead and create the Twitter account. Let's go ahead and start publishing some college basketball games. And wow, let's just go ahead and get the elephant in the room. The first week of Twitter picks on the college basketball didn't do so well.
Yeah, it's been really disappointing, and for those my beta testers out there, I think they're a little frustrated with it too. Thankfully we made them a lot of money in the previous weeks. The first 5 weeks of the college basketball season worked out really well, and kind of got blindsided here this last week. So we're working on that again, always trying to make it better. Even if we do well, we're always going to be trying to stay on top of it. But that's how we wanted to do it, was just start off with internally. I'm trying to figure out what works best myself. Then, hey, let's see if I've got someone out there who I can share this information with, and they can start looking at it and saying, hey, this is working, and actually put their money on it. And that was working pretty well, again, with those picks. And then it actually started going downhill one day before we went live. But that one day on New Year's Eve, didn't think much of it. Because you have up and down days in this business, absolutely. But like you said, John, definitely the elephant in the room of just kind of got hit by a buzzsaw. The overall college picks, as bad as they've been, are still profitable overall in the year, but most of that big profit that they built up early has been given back, unfortunately.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I texted you and said, hey, should we table this and maybe keep it behind the curtains or see how this model proves out a little further? But it's all about progress, not perfection. So like you said, you've already made some tweaks. We'll make adjustments. And that's the thing about sports. I call it, Ryan, the best reality TV going. Live sports is amazing. I mean, I don't watch any of the other reality TV, but live sports is reality TV.
Yeah, absolutely. And, of course, we have a small following right now. We're kind of to the point where we can say, hi, Mom, because those are the people watching, right? But yeah, just trying to build this up and have some fun with it, and hopefully share the success that football's having. Pretty soon we'll be releasing some NBA picks. Those are starting to really do well also. And again, these systems are independent. What we are finding is causing issues in college basketball is completely independent of what is happening with the college football, NBA and NFL models. So we're still confident in these other ones, and so yeah, we'll fire away at some picks and hope we can continue on the success that we had here in the NFL at the end of the season.
Yeah, hey, I'm going to post the Twitter handle while you. I know you want to run through some of the rankings, but I'm going to go ahead and put up our Twitter handle. That's the main way to connect with us right now, is on Twitter, and let me bring that up right now.
Yeah, and before we get to the rankings real quick, I'll just give a high-level overview of what we're doing, just so you can peek behind the curtain just a little bit, so you know where these rankings are coming from. We're pulling in various different rankings that people have converted. These power rankings are using all sorts of data. They're from some of the smartest people in the world, and I want to let the smart people do their thing. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to take a play. If anybody's familiar with the work that 538 does with their prediction of politics, their strength is not polling, but their strength is aggregating the polling and just saying, hey, we can come up with something that's really good if we put all these together. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to say there's a lot of smart people out there who can tell me how good these teams are, and I can improve off that by putting it all together, synthesizing.
Well, and fans, if you just stumbled across this, that is Professor Speak 101 right there. We're getting into the math there. Hey, I was and hey, Ryan, true story. I was a well above average student, but I was never that interested in solving for X. So I think that's kind of what brings you and I together. I want to learn to give change for 100 and say thank you and come back. You figured out how to solve for X, and I think that's what's going to make at least first week. Us kind of yin and yang it pretty well.
Yeah, that's the goal, right? I'm definitely coming at this from a little bit different of an angle than you are with my background. You mentioned it earlier, but I am a professor at Texas Women's University here in Denton, Texas, professor of statistics. I spent 5 years in industry as a statistician. And it's the combination of my love of statistics and my love of helping people that kind of led me to want to do this here, is to say, how can we help people, and how can I use my statistics in sports? So just kind of combining all of my loves. That's what I'm hoping to bring here. Hopefully I don't get for you, John. If I do, just bring me back.
Oh, no, I enjoy it. I like talking the numbers. I'm just kind of, taking a cheap shot at you, I guess.
Hey, my students do it all the time, so I'm used to it.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of that, when COVID first hit, you allowed me. I hope this didn't break any TWU rules or regulations. If so, we'll edit this out. But I hopped on one of your classrooms in a Zoom class, and it was like Calculus 101 or it was like sophomore level or freshman level, and I could tell those students really didn't want to be there, right?
Most of them don't, unfortunately. Yeah, it's the way it goes.
I was trying to inspire them a little bit, wake them up. They were, I don't know.
I think that was too early in COVID. I think everyone was shell shocked with Zoom at that point. But
yeah, especially when I popped on, like, man, who's this guy?
Yeah, who is this guy? Yeah, and I, if I had a guest lecture every week, maybe they'd have been used to it. But they were thinking, who's this random person?
Hey, can we keep that in the podcast? All right, cool. Yeah. Hey, we're just giving a plug for TWU. You know, it's in Texas. University of North Texas is here as well. Great college town. Maybe at some point, if we have any success at all, Professor, we'll have maybe through that community platform, we'll do a contest and maybe bring some people in and have like a dinner or a lunch right here in Denton, Texas. Might be a lot of fun. Maybe folks that tune in often or maybe have a lot of success, maybe they want to fly in and buy our dinner would probably be the way it works.
Hopefully, right? Hopefully we can make them enough money that they're happy to do that.
Yeah. Well, hey, why don't you go down the rankings a little bit, and that'll get a couple people maybe a little squirrely. You know, part of this is passion, and I learned a long time ago, you never bet with your heart. And too early in this season for me to share a whole lot more, but man, I've seen story after story after story, especially in Kentucky, where people, man, the Kentucky Wildcats, they're gonna win tonight. I just know it. That basketball team's going to beat that other team by 20, and they're only a 10-point favorite, and they win by 8, right?
Yep.
So that's the story. We want to help you, protect you, to try to stay away from betting with your heart.
Yeah, absolutely. You smart bettors bet numbers and not teams, right? And so with no further ado, we'll run through the rankings. We won't rank every team, just the playoff teams. But a couple of surprises here. No surprise right off the bat here. We have Kansas City Chiefs number 1. And I'm going to run through a couple of these that probably won't surprise you too much. We've got the Saints at number 2. Now the Ravens at 3, the Rams at 4, the Bills at 5. Tom Brady's Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 6. And of course, way down here at 7, you have the Green Bay Packers, who aren't in action this week because they are the only team in the NFC with a bye, but our numbers have them down at the 7th best team. And then we continue on. We've got Seattle, Pittsburgh, and Indy to round out the top 10. The Tennessee Titans come in at 11. And then there's some gaps from the teams that maybe don't quite deserve to be there. We've got the Browns at 15. And of course, the Bears down at 19, and the Washington football team down all the way at 22. Of course, I think we knew whoever came out of the NFC East division was going to be pulling up the rear of this little segment here.
Well, Professor, you talk about that Washington football team. There's a lot of, I call them homers. We talk about betting with your heart. Dallas Cowboy fans that were still, this past Sunday, still had hope that their team was going to get into the playoffs. I didn't grow up in Dallas, so hey, I do like to see them win. It makes all my friends happier, right?
Right.
But, man, what a disaster the NFC East. In future shows, we'll break down a lot more detail, thoughts, and analysis. But, man, the NFC East, what a dumpster fire that's been this season.
Yeah, all the jokes you've probably seen out there. There's so many of them. At some point, people were talking about, your record in a game if you win the turnover battle, your record in a game if you have more rushing yards than the other team, and at some point, someone came up with your record in the game if you're just playing an NFC East team, and that was the best way to win. Just be playing an NFC East team, and you're much more likely to win than no matter anything else you can do on the field. That's just how bad they were.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. Well, hey, you ready to jump in Saturday's action?
Yeah, let's do it.
The Colts and Bills. Let me see if I can bring them up real quick. And there they are. You got them on the screen. Buffalo Bills and the Indianapolis Colts. Now, I know you spent some time in Indy. Are you partial? Are you a fan of the Indianapolis Colts?
Yeah, I spent 5 years there, but I wouldn't say I'm really a fan of any NFL team. Kind of like you said, you got to make your plays with with your head, not your heart, right? So I never really got aligned with any NFL team. But unlike you, talking about Cowboys fans, I know a lot of people who are pretty big Colts fans from back in the time I spent up there.
In that game, it starts. We still call it, I think, Wildcard Weekend, Saturday, January the 9th, 1:05 Eastern on CBS. Man, what are your thoughts on there? I know you've done some analysis and you put some computer. You put the mojo, the secret sauce in on this one. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, so this is one of the games that we posted on Twitter before the line moved anymore. I saw it open at 7, and we liked it at 7. It got down to 6.5 before I could post anything. And I posted on Twitter here. We wanted to go ahead and lock 6.5 in as a 2-unit play. And so that's the number that we're going to use for grading purposes. It's down to 6 now. I still like it at 6. Of course, if you got 6 at a 6.5, you may be looking at a push. Lots of ways that can happen. But I like this pick. It's one of our bigger edges on the weekend. I have that the spread should be more in the 4.5 range. And just a nugget here. The modeling went 5-0 in 10 weeks, betting on Buffalo this year. So when it bet Buffalo, it went 5-0. So it knows when to like Buffalo, and it does not like Buffalo here. So
hey, let me ask you, for the audience, you mentioned 2 units, and now you and I've been throwing this vernacular around for 8 weeks now. But why don't you explain to the viewer, somebody that's watching this for the very first time, kind of the unit methodology?
Yeah. So the idea of units is if you have a favorite that you're betting, if you're betting, minus 105, minus 110, or any minus like that, when you say how many units, it's you're betting to win that much. And we say unit because we want to standardize metrics. Some people do $10 bets. Some people do $100 bets, right? And so it gets difficult to talk about dollars. We don't want to intimidate someone by thinking that you have to make big dollar plays, and we don't want to go the other direction on someone who wants to make big dollar plays. So we just say units. It's whatever your standard bet is. If it's $10, $20, $50, $100. So if you were a $10 bettor, a 2-unit play would mean you want to bet, in this case, to win $20, which means you'd be betting 22 to win 20. And if it's plus odds, you bet that many units and you just get the extra.
Hey, Professor, I do want to take just a minute to do a little public service announcement and say, please gamble responsibly. You and I both know people that have had problems and it's destroyed families. Please do not do this. This is primarily for entertainment purposes. Keep it friendly and keep your units to a manageable number. How's that, Professor?
Absolutely. And so, yeah, we've got our first play here, Indy. Again, for grading purposes, we'll go plus 6.5. And that's, again, we like it at 6. If it gets below 6, I don't think I would be taking it. But we'll have a 2-unit play to start us off Saturday.
And then next up on Saturday afternoon, 4:40 on Fox, 4:40 Eastern time, 3:40 Central here in the Texas area, Rams at Seahawks.
Yeah, and this one's interesting because of Goff, right? They had him, they had surgery on his hand, and he was supposed to be out for the playoffs, and then maybe he's not, right? He's having trouble throwing the ball one day, and then he's not having problems the next day. There's a lot of coach speak going on. My perception of the situation is he's going to play. The latest update we have is that he's, quote, progressing well. He's not having problems with snaps. With a thumb, you never quite know. This line opened in the 4.5 range, and I'm sitting here going, that's right smack in the middle of where I would have it, depending on which quarterback's playing. It's dropped now to 3.5, and if you want the Rams, you got to lay $1.20, so it's minus 120 there. I'm on the Rams, and that's the side we're going to be on today. I'm going to assume that Goff is going to play, and if Goff is in the lineup, then I see that this should be under a field goal game. So I'll go ahead and take the field goal and that hook. So in case it goes to overtime and someone kicks a field goal, we're on the right side either way. You're going to have to lay minus 120 on that one. But we think it'll be worth it with Goff. And of course, just a note there, if he doesn't play, I have Goff as about a 5-point adjustment to their backup.
Big variable. That's another reason to be in our texting community. Obviously, if you're interested in that game, you're going to get the news. But as soon as we get news like that, we will text it out to the audience. Hey, normally, and I know we talked about this pre-show, Professor, normally going into Seattle, they say it's the toughest stadium to play in. It's the loudest. With COVID, I think there might be 0 fans there again this weekend. Have you heard they're going to allow 3,000 fans? Is it 0 fans? I'd have to think that makes a big impact, especially here in the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good thing to bring up. In years past and in years future, hopefully once we get this whole COVID thing behind us and we have full stadiums again, what we're going to do is we're going to apply a different home field for each team. Places like Seattle, places like New Orleans, they get 3.5, maybe even 4 points in a good year for that home field because of how tough it is to play there. While other places, our backyard here, Dallas, not much of a home edge. Arizona not known for having a home edge. LA probably the same situation. Those teams maybe get more point and a half. We found for this year with COVID, with no fans or very few fans, it can't really affect things. We've dropped that home field advantage all the way down to 1 point across the board. Not trying to differentiate and say maybe there's a half point here or something. Just say we'll give everybody 1 point. You're at least sleeping in your own bed, but. Yeah, very different game than in years past. In years past, we'd have to be giving Seattle a much bigger edge for that home field that we're not giving them now because, times are different, this year.
And of course, last season, the Rams, had one heck of a year. Obviously they're not playing quite as well this season, like a lot of the teams. It's been kind of an off year for the NFL, I think, for a number of reasons. We can speculate all we want, little or no training camp, just starting slow, injuries, on and on and on. But hey, next up,
one last note. Last note there real quick for that game. We'll talk a little bit about teasers here as well. And for those that aren't aware, teasers where you put multiple games together, you get worse odds. You have to have them all hit, but you get to add points to your total. I love the teaser on this game as well. A couple of reasons. Number one, it's the lowest point total of the weekend, which means points are going to be at a premium. That total is only 42.5. So if you can get an extra few points, that matters more in a low game. Also, they don't price the minus 120 into those teaser odds. And so if you can get that plus 3.5 to a 6 point teaser, 9.5, or if you want to go 7 up through 10.5, you're not having to pay extra for the fact that it's minus 120. So of all the games here this weekend, this is one of the ones that I would definitely encourage people to throw into a tease.
Well, hey, next up, Washington. We were talking about the NFC East earlier, Professor. Kind of limps into the playoffs. They play a Tampa Bay team. Of course, the headliner, Hollywood's own Tom Brady and the Gronk. Going to be exciting football. Just the fans of the game are going to want to tune into this one. But people that want to win money on this game, what are you thinking?
Right. So I talked about how bad Washington was. They were in the bottom third of the league, and here we are, first show of the ball game here, and we're gonna put our money on Washington plus 8.5. So a little bit of a plot twist right there. I have this game right around a touchdown. I think it's very possible this game finishes at 6, 7, or 8. Again, a low total, only 45 points. Points for the premium. So if you can get 8.5, that puts you right in it. You got backdoor possibilities. So I know I said earlier that Washington's really bad. They are, but again, I don't have to have Washington win. I just need them to not lose by more than 8.
And hey, when was the last time Tom Brady had to go play Wildcard weekend on the road in Washington?
Never. He's never played Wildcard weekend on the road.
Yeah, I don't normally. He's very used to having a bye week that first weekend, and so that'd be a little interesting to see. I'm sure he'll be ready. He's a gamer, but we just need him to win by 7.
Yeah, 7 will work.
That's it.
Yep.
We'll be good with that. And hey, I would like to see Tampa Bay do well. I'm personally pulling for them to win, just not by 8 or more.
There you go.
All right. Anything else on that one as we transition?
Yeah, that's all I got on that one.
Yes, Sunday, first game this Sunday, January the 10th. The Ravens in Nashville play the Tennessee Titans. Kicks off at 1:05 Eastern on ABC and ESPN, 12:05 Central. Let me pull them up. Ravens at Titans, and there they are.
Yeah, and this one we've got this game as Baltimore -3. That's what our model shows. And so with that said, we're gonna grab Tennessee +3 because it's even money. Seems like it's about the right line. So let's go ahead and just take the even money. We're going to hope for a tight game. This is the highest point total of the weekend, though, at 55. So we talked about teasing games. This is one I would not want to tease, simply because I think this game could be a blowout in either direction. And it could, like I said, it could really go either way. So with that said, we're going to be on the Titans here at +3, even money, simply because, again, you got even money in a toss-up-y type game. Hard to beat.
Yeah, that's been the Ravens and Titans have kind of gone at each other quite a bit the last couple of years. That kind of came in where I thought it would. Right around a field goal. The Titans have been playing really, really well. That'll be a fun game to watch as just a fan.
And if I recall, a rematch of a very entertaining game last year, as well, that the Titans shocked the Ravens, if I recall correctly.
Yeah. Hey, next up, the afternoon game, 4:40 kickoff Eastern, 3:40 Central. Now, we were talking about this pre-show. The NFL is kind of tricking this one up, Professor. This one's going to be on Nickelodeon as well as Amazon Prime and CBS, trying to get out to that viewership that, as part fantasy football, that younger generation that doesn't have standard TV. They probably get it through a Roku box or all these other YouTube TV. I think you can watch Amazon Prime. I know I can get it through my app right here. I can watch Amazon Prime right here behind me. So that'd be kind of interesting. The Nickelodeon channel. Have you ever heard of that before?
Yeah, when this was announced before the season, I think I saw this on Twitter and thought this was a joke. I thought this was one of those, hashtag 2020 kind of things or something. And I thought for at least a day, maybe two, I really thought it was a joke. And then I heard somewhere else someone talk about it, and I had to look into it. This is actually real. Are they really doing this? But yeah, trying to reach a new demographic. You got the online people for Amazon Prime, and then trying to reach kids. Supposedly they're going to do some more kid-friendly things, trying to reach the next generation.
Yeah, I heard that like SpongeBob or some of those characters might be calling part of the game or something. It's got my interest up, being a sportscaster, and I do some high school football on the radio here in Texas. So I'm going to tune in just kind of for the comedic value.
Yeah, there's no telling what'll happen. It should be wild. Definitely something to tune into. But with respect to how we're going to play this game, we're going to be on the Saints -10. That's right about where our numbers have it. But my model has loved Chicago all year, and I know at least one of my beta testers out there lamented throughout the year. It says take Chicago every week. What's happening? It didn't end well most of the time. It was one of the losing plays. Like I said, we can't win them all, but we lost more than we won on Chicago, and the model loves Chicago. This time it doesn't say take Chicago, so that's a good opportunity for me to be on the other side, since I know that the model, for some reason, just seems to have a bias on the Bears. Since it doesn't like them this week, I think that's telling me that we want to be on the Saints, and that they're the clearly superior team. And just have them take care of business with a nice, easy blowout win.
Drew Brees just continues to figure out ways to get it done. Golly, he's older than you are, a little younger than I am, but amazing that he keeps picking himself up and getting back out there on the turf.
It is. We have a handful of quarterbacks like him. Brady, another one that mentioned. Some of the Phillip Rivers, these type of guys who just year after year they keep taking hits, and they keep figuring out how to stay just as good as ever. It's pretty impressive.
And then if everyone's had, and I know you don't recommend this, but if you've had say a rough weekend, maybe you went against the Professor and the gut instinct of Piper, and you need to load up maybe a couple more units. The final game of Wildcard weekend, Browns at Steelers. Man, what a classic matchup. The Browns get in the playoffs for the first time in a long time. Baker Mayfield, a lot of excitement around. I know a bunch of longtime Browns fans that are from the Cleveland area that live here now, and man, they are so excited. The Browns are in the playoffs.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they are. It's been a long time and a good rivalry. And isn't it just weird to think that we're going to have a Sunday night playoff game here on Wildcard Weekend? This is going to be a wild, wild
The
weekend.
extra game, the extra game, I think 43% of all NFL teams get in the playoffs now. So it's a little diluted, but they want to give more like week 16, week 17, and it came down to that. Who's going to fight for a spot in the playoffs? And that's what it's designed moving forward. It didn't quite work out that way this year, with some crazy games on the line, but Browns at Steelers, 8:15 Eastern kick, 7:15 Central, NBC Sunday Night Football. What say you, Professor?
Yeah, and this is another one that we gave out on Twitter. We've got Pittsburgh -6. It's another 2-unit play. So the other 4 plays would just be the standard 1-unit plays. This one we also like. It's our other top favorite game. So again, our 2 favorites are the Colts +6.5, and then the Steelers here -6. This line hovered around 4 early in the week before the Browns COVID announcements. It jumped up to 6. The move from 4 to 6 doesn't scare me too much. Maybe a push in either end, but you're not crossing key numbers. You're crossing from 6 to 7. So if we made that same adjustment, if we kind of took our model, and we don't have a COVID variable in here, hopefully we wouldn't need one for next year, right? So there's no COVID variable, but if we were to make that same adjustment, we'd have this game over a touchdown. So being at -6, we really like. We went 6-2 betting against the Browns this year. We went 6-2 betting on the Steelers this year. So I think we've got a pretty good feel for both of these teams. I can't say that for every team. Like I mentioned, the Bears earlier, just that, model loved them, but didn't work out. But these 2 teams, when we went against the Browns a lot, it worked out. We went on the Steelers, a lot, it worked out. So I'm going to keep riding that train here. And just like before, we think we've got a pretty good edge here at Pittsburgh -6.
Well, Professor, we're going to wrap up our first show, man, the maiden voyage. I think you did great. How's it feel to be, a network personality?
Speechless.
I did catch a little off guard there, I think. But hey, I do want to give a shout out to one of the early adopters of, one of the beta testers, Jack Knorr. He has a Twitter question, and that's one thing we'll weave in maybe each and every week, especially once we start doing these live. We love fan interaction, so you'll be able to interact with us live on the show. But Jack asks, what's your food suggestion for watching your team in the playoffs? He's a Broncos fan, and he likes to prepare his meals 10 years in advance. So I'm not sure if the 10 years in advance thing comes in, but I'll give that one a first answer. Then I'll let you, since you have some insight into that 10 years in advance thing. I would say Denver Broncos, maybe some Rocky Mountain oysters and some Coors, Rocky Mountain Coors beer would be a good option, wouldn't it?
You're going themed there. I wasn't even thinking about the theme direction of this. I was just thinking about what do I like to eat.
Yeah, that's kind of what popped in my brain. And I would not order Rocky Mountain oysters for me, by the way. I would probably get some bone-in wings, maybe a habanero, maybe an assortment, some nachos with some good Tex-Mex. I like that smoky salsa flavor. So if you are, I know a lot of people love this time of year where you're preparing for the playoff weekend. Maybe you got your smoker going. That's another thing. We started smoking some stuff. When I say smoking some stuff, I am talking about food, people. But that's another thing. I think I'm going to smoke a brisket. Good friends of mine, matter of fact, I've got one right here. Little Suckle Busters barbecue package. They didn't know they were going to get a little promo on the maiden voyage of Picking Sides with Piper and the Professor, but good friends of the show, and we'll get you some of that there as well, Professor. But what would you tell Jack Knorr as far as the meal for the Denver Bronco game?
Yeah, the Broncos haven't. Yeah, they haven't made the.
Yeah,
I haven't made the playoffs since 2015, so it has been a while. But if I do recall, back then they won a Super Bowl, so at least you went out on top there. Yeah, if we're preparing that far in the future, I mean, who knows what sort of cool foods will be around by then? But if we're talking in the near future, I will say, we hosted a Super Bowl party 10 years running. And this last year, we decided actually not to do one. And so we actually got to eat some of the foods that we wanted rather than just hosting. And it was a lot of fun. We did, little corn dogs and little taquitos. We did some wings as well, though we didn't put them on the grill. But just a lot of finger foods are good for football. That way you can kind of just snack whenever you want rather than having to sit down with something. So that's my answer to the question. There is a food suggestion for watching your team. Finger foods, that way you don't have to deal with sitting down. If you give up a touchdown, you can eat your feelings right then and there. Just throw something else in, whether like I said, a little mini corn dog or a taquito or a wing, whatever it might be.
Well, Ryan, any final thoughts as we wrap this one up?
No, just good luck with your betting, and we'll do it again next week with the 4 games that will be happening that weekend.
Hey, and just a reminder, if you're tuning in late, I've got it on the screen as well. Text the word WIN to 214-416-9771. You'll become part of our community. We can text you out information about the show. This will air on our YouTube channel, Picking Sides with Piper and the Professor, and we'll put some stuff out there on YouTube. Again, you can follow us on Twitter at Piper and the Prof on Twitter, and that's where all the picks come out. And tell you what, man, this has been a great one. For the Professor, I'm Piper. Thank you so much for being a part of this one. We'll see you back here next week. Good luck.